Good morning. My name is Scott Rudd, the Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com.
And I'm Brittany, and together we bring you Morning Call Express. So our futures are pointing towards a flat open this morning after a pretty quiet session overnight. How do you think traders should handle the open today?
Well, I think everyone's a little, taken back that we opened up strong yesterday and we failed to hold the gains. So I think we're at this little crossroads here. If you look at the chart here of the SPX, you will see that, we broke this intermediate trend line, earlier, right? This was in August, and now we're on this intermediate trend line here. If you took some risk off with this head and shoulders top formation, you know what? You're in a spot where you're wondering whether you put it back on or if you maybe can get short if we had a break and close below 1627, because if we break and close below 1627, you will see that this trend line will be broken, and a lot of bears will start coming out and saying that we should retest the June lows or the 200-day. So at this particular point, we're at a bit of a crossroads. I think, for us, if we get back in rally mode, a start would be to close above this 1651-ish area. But overall, right here, I don't think many people are placing any big bets.
Well, there were some bright spots in the market yesterday. The banks were one area that tried to show some relative strength.
Yeah, when the gap was getting filled in the S&P, the banks were trying to hold up. They did give way a little bit towards the end of the day. So you need to see if it could build on this. If you look at the XLF from the November trend line here, we are still below it, just going sideways below it. So, if we could reclaim this, I think that would be a step in the right direction. But ultimately, the longer we stay below this trend line, again, the louder the bears are going to growl.
The casino showed some relative strength as well. There continue to be some opportunities to be found there.
These did not pull back yesterday, and we've been talking about the casinos, I think, a little bit more over the course of the past 2 weeks because they did show relative strength during this corrective process. And if you look here at LVS, stock looks pretty good. Go to the chart, you will see it closed on its highs yesterday when the market sold off. There were some good Macau numbers yesterday, holding above all the moving averages. So this is now on my go-to list, and I do think that this is a candidate to make, a move north of 60, which were the May highs, and something like MGM that we've talked about numerous times over the course of the year. I still think the stock looks good, and in my humble opinion, I think that at some point in 2014, it's going to be north of 20.
And meanwhile, Apple trying to hold up its momentum as the big September 10th event draws closer. But that didn't draw too much enthusiasm, and now reports of an event in China, maybe that could draw a little bit more excitement.
Between that and an upgrade, it's up pretty nicely this morning. And it's a little unfortunate because it closed so poorly yesterday that I think active guys don't own it. Like right now, I'm flat Apple. If you look at the chart here, this is this lower pivot area that it's been building. Here's the gap up after earnings, and this is when I loved it for an entry here or above the 200-day. So yesterday, if you look closely at this little pivot, it closed on the dead lows, looking as if it might break. And now today, it's opening up a little bit. I think this is your pivot. I think this was an out-of-sequence trade. If it can get and stay above 496.50-ish for the first hour, you could see, momentum come back in and get back over 500, which would be very bullish for the situation here.
And we should mention that metals woke up a little bit yesterday, but are a little bit softer this morning. The GLD yesterday gained about 1.3%. So with it being softer this morning, could that be opportunity for gold?
Yes, I think that, a negative to positive trade could happen. Yesterday, it was a little stronger. You look here that the trend since the June 28th low has been strong. This was a buy spot. This was another add-on spot. I talked about, maybe selling some strength here. It did have a decent pull-in before turning up yesterday. So I would say, this is your pivot to trade against in the GLD. As long as it stays above the 8-day, which it's been following since this last move, I would say stay constructive on the metals. And then if we do get some kind of crazy strike with Syria, let's see if they sell the news or if it continues to go back up to a bigger trend line, which is north of 140.
All right, and we'll be talking about all of this and more in the full morning call, so stay with us.